Okay, here we go. Chapter 5 on proteins. This is a little bit longer chapter. It's a little more complicated. So I was going to bring this to you to hopefully help with that. So this would have been what we talked about on this Monday. So the 26th of October, if we were together. So hopefully you're going to be working on your lab for proteins, which was the Jell-O and the meat tenderizer and the different kinds of pineapple. I did post a video on that lab procedure with my 2 girls, and it's on the YouTube channel as well. So if you haven't done that, check out that video. And so that'll help a lot of this make sense as well. Okay, so here we go. So for proteins, proteins are in our bodies. They do a whole lot of things, and we'll talk about some of that. One of the main sources of proteins is in muscles. So like I said in the one before, if you're trying to build muscle, then you want a lot of extra protein. So when we talked about fats, we talked about their glycerol backbone. And that was kind of the common part of lipids. And so on to proteins. The common or the same part of all proteins are amino acids. And this backbone for an amino acid looks a little like this. It kind of looks complicated, but he has simplified it really good for you, and he's named him Amino Man. And let me tell you what, 11 years of college and more chemistry than you can shake a stick at. And I wish one single chemistry professor had showed me Amino Man. So, and my master's degree is in nutrition. So I did a lot of studying of these structures. And if it would have only been set up like this, I would have saved me a lot of grief. So anyways, thank you, Mr. Hajda, for working this out for us. So the part of an amino acid or a protein that is the same as Mr. Amino Man here, okay? And he has 4 different groups, or 4 different kind of components. One is a carboxyl group, and the carboxyl group lives right here, kind of waist down, okay? So it's this carbon double bonded to the oxygen. And the second group is the hydroxyl group, which is right here. Okay, so it kind of is Amino Man's foot. So our carboxyl group is his waist, and his foot is the hydroxyl group. All right, so the other group is his head up here. So it's color coordinated to there. That is called the Amine Group, and this is new. We've not seen nitrogen in anything before, in any of our compounds. So the Amine Group in your fatty acid here is Amino Man's head and his ears. There. Okay. Nitrogen, if you recall, only wants 3 bonds. Okay, so he's bonded here to this carbon and the 2 hydrogen ears. Okay, and then the last part of the backbone of proteins here is this R group. And R just means it's the part of the amino acid that is specific. So this part is going to be the unique part. So everything will have an amino group, an R group, a carboxyl group, and a hydroxyl group. But this R group is going to look different depending on the amino acid. So, and sometimes these get really complicated. So, but it's always going to be connected here to this carbon on this side of his body, that R group. Okay. So down here at the bottom, we'll talk about the part that's unique, which is this R group. So let's see, what did I say here? So this part is the complex that is different for every amino acid. And these complexes include sometimes more than just the carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen. So this big complicated group out here could have other compounds in it. Looks like some has sulfur, some has some more nitrogens, complicated like hexagonal ion structures there. So that's really specific to here. So you remember with our fats, we had the glycerol backbone and then those long chains here that made it unique. This part right here is what makes amino acids unique. Okay, so they could have more than just that. Let's see, there are 20 amino acids. That's what AA stands for. 20 amino acids needed for life. So there's 20 of those. When I was in college, I had to memorize every one of them and their structures. So those are what's actually in your book here, is all the different amino acids and their structures with their R groups. So you do not have to memorize all of those, but you could read their names, which is pretty cool, and see that that valine and leucine and methionine has in the sulfur, and see how complicated that R group is. Isoleucine, serine, cysteine, threonine, proline, glutamine, and so on and so forth. Okay, so you can see here, if I take the R group, kind of the simplest R group structure over here is just a simple bond. Oops, wrong color. Simple bond to hydrogen. Okay. And that amino acid is named glycine. So it's kind of the simplest. And here's another example that he used. Is our carbon bonded to another carbon here, and then 3 hydrogens, because carbon wants to have 4, right? So it's bonded to this carbon and 3 hydrogens. So this one is called alanine. That's the name of this amino acid. So you can see what changes is this. Got it? Alrighty then. Oh, back down here. So 20 amino acids are needed for life. All of them are listed here in the book with their structures. And for some reason, I see a difference in here. Like my book clearly says 8. I have to go back and look at one of my nutrition books maybe. But I also have seen some things being brought up that says that there's 9 essential amino acids. So I don't get hung up on that too much, I guess. But around that many are essential. And essential basically means that we can't make them ourselves, and so we have to take them from another source. So 8 amino acids are essential. So we must take them from our food because we can't make them on our own. So that's kind of the basics of amino acid structure and essential versus non-essential amino acids. So we will come back here in just a few minutes and we'll talk a little bit more about how they link together, because this is just one bead really, and the text talks about that, about how amino acids are kind of like a beaded necklace. The combination of the amino acid chains is what makes that particular protein. So just like a necklace, the way things are linked together, you might have alanine, glycine, alanine, methionine, alanine, glycine, so you can see the amino acids vary in different chains, just like a necklace. So those have to come together and be linked together through a bond. So I'm going to erase this here, and we'll go back and talk about how those things link together. All right. And I lost my cameraman. Whoop.